It says we're excellent. There I am. I see my face. Awesome.
There you are.
I have arrived. Hey, everybody. Aaron is here already. Hi, Aaron. Welcome. His first one out the gate. Ian says, "Welcome to this week's chat." Both number one. How they figured this
we're both
out?
number one.
I don't know how they figured out
should-
numbers. Everyone should be number one.
That's right.
Ah. Carla says, "Hi, Siofra and Ian. How was your
Hello.
week?" I think Bast visited. Oh, cool. It's always nice to get a visit by Bast. Rowan says, "Hello, everyone." Hi, Rowan. Week was pretty good. It's sort of a weird thing, though, with food stamps. We've got our food stamps, and now they're saying they may take them back because the U.S. government is threatening the state of Oregon. So we don't know for sure what's going to happen in the next couple of days. Love the consistency
Yeah.
and how much they care about whether we eat or not. But yeah, so, there's that.
Trump has never missed a meal in his whole life.
Yes. I can't imagine he even knows what it's like to go hungry. That was one of those things my daughter and I were talking about it. Rowan says exactly 100%. Yeah.
All right.
But that's what our week is like. So, just hanging out, seeing what happens. But pretty good overall. I mean, no major things going on this week, so it was kind of nice to get a little bit of a pause, I guess, in extreme activity. I definitely had some clients to see, but Aaron says, "I have been seeing a lot of spiders. Does that mean anything?" Well, for some people, spiders seem to mean one of the dark goddesses. They seem to come with spiders, some of them. Or it's winter and they're coming inside to get prepared to help fight off your pests that are indoors and stay warm.
Also depends on how your yard is. Years when I was sick, when I couldn't take care of the yard and stuff, we got tons of spiders in our backyard, and
Yeah.
mostly they don't hang around that much.
There's not as much for them to
They
eat.
like to get on the cameras.
Yeah. Yes, that's pretty true. Carla says he has enemies surrounding him. Get ready for great big news, probably a listicle. And yeah, the unraveling has begun. Well, I actually had one of my storm dreams 2 nights ago. I thought that was pretty interesting. And it was moving quite fast, and different parts of it were really roiling around. And I was safe, so that was also a good thing. It's sort of like in my subconscious, trouble coming or upheaval happening. Storms are the usual way. My subconscious gives me like a heads up of what's going on, and by the kind of storm and how close it is and so forth, it gives me clues as to how close it's going to come to me, my life, my loved ones, if I have to prepare for something or not, if I'm going to have to ride something out, that kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting. So yeah, Teresa says, "Hi, hope you both well today." Yes, we are. Yep. Very well. Doing just good. Sort of relaxing a little bit. Learning more wiring. Enjoying the wire works. Did you get the snow you were expecting, Teresa? I saw that there was a big cold snap coming down the East Coast, going through Canada and coming down, so I don't know how your weather is. I don't think I took one of these before I came in. Getting the urge to sneeze. Carla says, "I love your creation." Thank you. I am having fun learning. Ickle says, "Happy Sunday, lovely people." Hi, Ickle. Welcome. Teresa says, "Just a dusting of snow. Not bad, but getting quite chilly." Yeah, okay. cold weather, getting cold all the way down to Georgia and Florida, I think. Rowan says we're expecting up to 2 inches of snow overnight. Some places I heard they're expecting like a half a foot. I'm like, so glad I'm not in one of those places right now. I used to live in a place where we had a lot of snow. I was once in a 10-foot snowfall, so that was pretty exciting and not really interested in revisiting that again. Teresa says, my little cat family in the garage seem to be coping well with the chill. Well, that's good. Hopefully, they have some good winter coats. We had a local cat when I lived up north that somehow survived the winter. I don't know how he did it, but he was in pretty good shape. Quite the robust little boy. And he actually was very strong. He found ways to get into my house. I didn't even think there were ways. He would come up under my stove, where my stove came in to the house, and I piled giant logs around the entrance that he was using, and he shoved them aside and came in anyway. Yeah, looking for my female cat. Yep, he opened up cupboards too. Very much a annoyance in some ways, but impressive for a wild cat out in the cold winter and stuff. So, anyhow, Carla says, I still hate everyone though. I sure hope that subsides. I'm sorry. It's no fun. I know that is true. That's why I like animals and trees. They don't do anything on purpose to get you, mess with you. Teresa says, did you change the lighting in your setup? You look bright and clean. Nope, did not. Same setup, same lighting. Just what I'm wearing, who knows? I'm wearing lighter colors. Just depends on what I've got on as to what my face looks like. Of course, I have hazel eyes too, so my eyes change depending on a lot of factors, like what I'm wearing in particular.
It's also possibly actually better lighting overall because it's more even because there's no sun shining in because it's kind of an overcast
It
day.
is sort of overcast right now, yeah. So that could be as well.
More
Carla
even
says,
lighting.
same. Thankful for my cat and family.
We're just comparing the colors and stuff.
Seeing how well I match.
It's actually pretty good, except for maybe a little bit lighter colored on my computer than
Everyone's computer is going to
the
be
color is
slightly
about
different.
the same, but it looks like it's actually darker in person. It looks lighter in there.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah,
We don't know.
it's very close.
Rowan says, I'm very sad to see my dragonflies and butterflies disappear. Ohio winters can be harsh, but there are worse places. Yes, there are, and they'll come back. Teresa says, I was wondering if a seance via Zoom would work. I have no clue, but I'm not doing one. I've never done a seance. I've done channeling. I don't do seances. So maybe someone else does and they can try it, see what happens. There are certainly plenty of psychics online. I know someone who visits Chris Coffee a lot. He has, I think his name is Chris Coffee. I know his last name is Coffee. Chip, not Chris. That's it. Thank you. Chip Coffee. And he does stuff like that. And there's other people who do, but that's not me. Carla says, wonder if we'll get some auroras from the CME. We were predicted to see them the other night, but it was completely clouded over. Hopeful for this one. You never know, because there is another one that just happened today, too. So we got them stacked on top of each other. And I think you're a little farther north than I am, so you might see one. And with us, it's cloudy, so yeah. Teresa says, I've never taken part in a seance, but would do it with you if it ever came up. Like I said, I don't do them. So it won't come up. So you can you know, not worry about that. Maybe find someone who does them and see what it's like. Brianna says, hey everyone. Hi, Brianna. Rowan says, what can we do as a group to help with this food scarceness issue? Well, our local community is doing a bunch of stuff with it. I mean, we've got local, um, there's one local restaurant that's giving away free spaghetti and meat sauce every day from 4 to 7. We've got some food banks that come through like once a week with a big truck, and you can go and pick up from your car, and they just load you up. We have another restaurant that is offering discounted meals. A lot of them are offering discounted meals, and of course, senior centers and stuff like that. Giving to a local food bank is always a good idea. Finding ways to volunteer at one, perhaps, especially with the holidays coming up. So, you know, I don't know. There's plenty of notions out there. Carla says, why do I know the name Chip Coffee? Because he's been on TV a number of times, and he was on Psychic Kids, the show, was that Discovery Channel or something?
I have no idea.
I think. And he's been with a number of paranormal investigative groups over the years here and there. Um, yeah, so he's kind of a well known personality when it comes to that. Teresa says, I'm not worried about that. Curious about why you don't do seances. Because doing a seance means letting other spirits into my body, which I won't do because I don't want to.
And in a lot of you'll find in a lot of the hermetic literature, it's not recommended because it tends to take a toll on the body because, in that sense, the actual energy of the person and stuff is used, and if you get the manifestations and things, a lot of times that type of mediums end up
Health issues.
very weak and have serious health issues because of their uh, use of their energy by other beings and different beings and things. It's
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not a trance medium, and I didn't ever want to be a trance medium, so because that means that I would give up my ability to know what was going on in my body around me and in the room where I was in order to allow it to happen. And most people that do seance kind of stuff are more trance medium types than I am. And we all have different skill sets and all have different interests. So I've been to a few quote unquote seances, and they can be certainly interesting, but yeah. So Jay Dan says, any information in regard to plant magic? I bought a few plants to brighten the place up, clean the air. Can we assign plants to work as protective wards? Sure. I'm not sure exactly which plants would be best suited for particular things because, I mean, my plants are outside, so I have rosemary, lavender, um, yarrow, um, sage, and those are all pretty protective plants or healing plants. So you certainly, you can have them in your house. Rosemary goes and lavender both grow pretty well in the house. Sage doesn't do too bad either, especially if you can give it a good place with sunshine. I don't know that it cleans the air in the same way that like a spider plant or other kind of plant does, where it takes pollution out of the air, but certainly can make your space smell nice. So yeah, I'm sure you can. Sylph says, is Athena a good goddess to work with? Um, she is a very strong energy. There's no doubt about it, and yeah, she can be pretty good to work with. I've worked more with Artemis than I have with Athena, but I have had some encounters with her, and I've known some people who've worked with Athena, and they seem to get pretty good connection. Brianna says, I'm surrounded by ghosts 24/7. They wake me up at 3 a.m. a lot. I probably need to ghost proof my place again. Yeah, probably. I sleep relatively peacefully, but I want to sleep through the night more often. It's always good to get a good night rest. Sleep is important for your healing. Carla says, I'm so bitter about everything that I can't even be thankful for the groups around here having food drives. It's because of them. It's needed. I'm disgusted. Sorry for venting, but this area. I totally get it. And it just seems like a horrific thing to me that someone in power is more willing to fight through the courts to keep food stamps from being handed out to people who actually need them than not. I mean, he has to go out of his way because the court said, give them the money and feed these people because it's not right. And he says, I'm going to appeal that decision. And then that idiot Supreme Court justice says, yeah, we're going to let him appeal this decision and give the money back. It's like, it's disgusting. It's not human. No compassion whatsoever, no care. It's just all posturing and power. Anyway, Teresa says cacti are supposed to be protective, easy to grow too. Yeah, they're really great to have under your windows so people can climb in because they're prickly. Rowan says, I hear you, Carla. It's a difficult time. Teresa says protective. Yes, proactive and protective. Brianna says, I have a dissociative disorder, so I channel easily, but I avoid it. Brief shifts of energy are exhausting. I ground a lot and work on boundaries. Yeah, and being able to maintain your individuality in when you're an extreme sensitive is a challenge, and I've had many years to practice for myself, and so it is easier for me now. But certainly when I was younger, it was not very simple and picking up too much stuff from everywhere. That's why I never lived in a one location for more than about a year and a half. I think it was about the longest I ever lived anywhere until we moved. But that was because I would tune in too much to the neighborhood and hear their thoughts and feel their energy and all the other stuff. Besides the other things that go on that aren't human, but the humans alone were enough to drive me out of an area because I just couldn't take it. Carlos says, in all honesty, what would be an efficient magical practice to release the rage and hate? Okay, so there's two things you can do that I have done. One would be a black stone. It's really good for rage. You take a black stone, doesn't have to be a special rock, doesn't have to be a crystal or anything, just a stone that happens to be black, so a river stone or whatever, and stick it on your forehead right here, and then just vent and scream all the energy into the stone and just sort of exit it out of your body and put it in the rock. And then if you can, throw it into running water like a river, a stream of some kind, the ocean, and let the water take all that energy away and then do something positive with it.
Yeah.
And
Or you can bury it.
right, but that is not recommended to bury it near something that wants to be alive because it tends to be maybe overwhelming for a plant. And supposedly, according to Starhawk, it could kill a tree. So I always threw mine in the river. But if you have a barren area, you can plant it there. Um, and then the other thing would be the cup transformation exercise, turning that rage into action or something, turn it into something you can use. I don't know. But those are the only two suggestions I have off the top of my head. Beth says, hi, Siofra. Hi, everyone. Hi, Beth. Virgo Flowers says, greetings. Greetings, Virgo. Rowan says, Freya is a strong presence in my life. She showed up for me when I was in absolute terror during a really bad storm. Well, that's good. To have something there to help you in a bad storm. Teresa says, hi, Beth. You are a bright light here. Beth says, hi, Teresa. Brianna says, yes, boundaries when you're learning to regulate your own energy is like working out a weak muscle, but I'm so much stronger, which is, we're very proud of you. We really are. I am anyway. I'm very proud of your progress. I think you've done great. Beth says, Teresa, love. Debbie the Bard says, grateful to be here again. Hi. I was thinking about you yesterday and wondered if you were going to show up again. Welcome. Beth says, Virgo flowers, clap, clap. Yay. So yeah, all coming in. It's fantastic. Now, of course, our time change has caught up with Europe. I think it was last week that our time changed. Week before, it was like Europe was an hour behind where it used to be, so we were like earlier for them in England. And Jono shows up. Gianna says, thank you. Yes, you're welcome. I think, kudos are due, so kudos to you. Carla says, Siofra, thank you. I'll try the rock. I've been turning it into action as far as getting involved with our county Democratic committee and with our Department of Natural Resources, but it's not cutting it. Yeah, I can understand that. It's a very frustrating time. Robert says, hello, everyone. Hi, Robert. Welcome. S. Steele says, hello, loves. Pretty new to the chat. Grateful to be here. We'll be lurking around in the background while doing chores. Blessings to you all. Well, hi, S. Steele. Welcome to the background. Enjoy as you do your chores. Some people cook and feed the cats. We have several people who feed their animals and cook dinner while we're having our live show. I know you hear recipes, and that's always entertaining. Ah, Beth says, hi, Robert. Robert says, I feel our density is changing. And hi, Beth. Well, if it changes too much, we might float off into space, right?
Changes the other direction.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It could get heavier, and then we'd be more stuck. I'm automatically assuming we're getting lighter. I guess that was an assumption.
People's heads are getting dense.
Well, yeah,
Top heavy.
right. Ian says that people's heads are getting more dense. It makes them top heavy, and then they tend to fall over. That says guilty as charged as far as the cooking and feeding cats. Pickle says not a question, but I was at a bonfire celebration last night, and there was something dancing in the flames, and when it realized I noticed it, came and danced with me for a bit. Awesome. That sounds fabulous. Robert says, is the number 8 a symbol of eternal return? Well, it's an infinity symbol when you put it on its side.
Also, number 8 is Mercury, mind, mentality.
I don't know if they can hear you from over there. Mercury is the number, 8 is the number for Mercury, the mind and
Yeah,
mental.
the mind, mentality, your mental body, all your thoughts, any magic or any magical pursuits at all of them fall under the aspect of number 8. It pertains to all magic in general.
Cool. Pokemon Tran says, whatever that means. Clap, hello, or wave, maybe it's a wave.
Wave high.
It's a wave, okay. Carlos says, space floating off sounds appealing. Pokemon Tran says, I'm watching. Oh, cool. Bebby the Bard says, yay, I've been tuning into seeing birds as intermediaries to larger energies. Their flight, behavior, and song speak to me so powerfully. I love birds. They're so much fun. I always have loved birds. We have gotten our red-winged blackbirds came back. We had a big storm last week. It blew our bird feeder across the yard into the center of the yard. And so Ian then went and filled it after the storms were over. It was a couple of days of that. And now the red-winged blackbirds, which are wonderful songbirds, have come back every so often, but they are really good at emptying that feeder. And of course, I feed the crows and the jays. They haven't gotten anything today. Bill says, I wanted to tell someone who wouldn't think I'm hallucinating. Well, I mean, and we've seen things. There's a difference. Like, okay, so when I go to a doctor and they ask if you're hallucinating, I always say no. Even though I see a lot of stuff that other people don't see, because if I know what it is and why it is, and I'm still cognizant in the world of everyone else's, our shared reality, and I know, that that's a table and that's a chair and that's a person and that's a car and I can drive and do all these other things that you do when you're in a body, and I'm completely grounded as far as that goes, then what I'm seeing isn't a hallucination in the medical sense where they're worried that I'm going to lose my grip on reality and think things are happening that aren't. So if you know what's going on and you haven't lost your mind, you're okay. Brianna says, ha ha, have you guys heard of that comet thing? Yeah, and apparently it's a 7 billion-year-old comet, so it's acting different because it's older than anything in our solar system, because our oldest comet's only about 4 billion years old.
It's getting senile.
It's getting senile. We'll see what it does.
I'm full of it.
Robert says, Siofra, I am soon 58 years old. I kind of study food. In your case, how many meals a day are you eating? I eat breakfast and lunch, and then I snack in the evening. Return to the Center of the Urn, a new movie. Haha. Haven't heard of it. Carla says, my kiddo and I just did some kind of infinity symbol move. Swing your arms in that motion to some music. Yeah, our bunny does that. Our bunny does figure eights around our feet. And he very carefully creates these figure eights. He goes around this way, goes through, comes out that way, comes down, goes back and forth. When he's very, very excited and very, very happy that we're going to give him food, he just goes like, oh! And then he shakes his head, which is just hysterical. I love it. S. Steele says, I just turned on cat TV for the first time for my very first kitten. Congrats. Virgo Flower says, listening about the black stone reminded me of the at least virtual symbolism behind eggs as catalysts, or even about divination. What's your opinion when intuition takes place instead of symbols? Well, I usually don't go with symbols so much. Mostly I work by intuition and direct communication, I guess. Like direct knowing of something when something's going to happen. So, not sure exactly. I heard about the egg thing though, which is kind of cool. I rather like the egg thing. It's sort of interesting. But my concern for my own brain, anyway, is the tendency to get lost in the attempt to translate something that may have nothing to do with what's actually going on. So I try to be present in the moment and pay attention to the input from the universe as going around through my day. So Robert says, Siofra, what is your experience with pink kunzite? Any details? Nope, I've not had any. But I understand it's a meteorite kind of material, so meteorites are interesting. I have some of that. Lillian Mirovich says, do you have any experience with physical manifestation of demons? Can two people simultaneously see the same demon? Uh, we don't have much in the way of experience with demons because they don't like being around us and we don't want to have anything to do with them. So, but if it's a spirit being, sometimes spirit beings can look what people think of as demonic and not necessarily be demonic. And if it is a real manifestation, then other people can see it. You have to be careful about what they call shared psychosis. Because sometimes if it's a thought form that someone has created and then it gets strong enough, the other person can see it, and then you both are feeding the thought form and making it stronger. So it depends on circumstances, I would say. Carla says, Ian, haha. Brianna says, wow, 7 billion? Yep. It's old. Much older than our solar system. It's been out there for a while, gathering garbage, as the physicist said. Just gathering a bunch of junk as it runs through space in our direction. So, and Brianna is laughing at Ian. Robert says, hello, Brianna. Carla says, ah, adorable. The figure eights for the bunny. Robert says, hello, Carla. Carla says, hi, Robert. So, yeah, I mean, there are so many different things that we can interpret things in different ways depending on our background, our assumptions, our anxieties, our fears, our hopes and our dreams, and everything else. It's like we have to remember whenever we're dealing with anything insubstantial that it is a lot of it has to do with the clarity or lack of clarity in our own mind. So when I encounter something, my approach I try to be open-minded and non-judgmental and try to see it for what it is and judge it for whether it's actually dangerous or not. I've only ever really encountered two malevolent beings. One when I was a kid who tried to possess me and whatnot, which was interesting, and I wasn't afraid, which was weird, and I got rid of it and made it go away and leave me alone. The other was at a museum south of us where there was this very malevolent spirit that was in a wax figure of a pirate. So that one I just like left alone. It's like, someone stuck you there. I'm not going to help you get out. because you're there for a reason, and I don't know what it is. So beyond my pay scale. So go away. I'm leaving. But anyway. So, Rowan says, I don't see spirits, but they speak to me. The voice always comes from behind me and is never malicious, which is good. You don't want to have malicious spirits speaking to you. Barbara says, Siofra, I know we are both empath. Are you sensible to weathers and also what to do about it? I used to think that the weather was my fault when I was younger and thought everything in the universe that went wrong was somehow my fault. And then I took credit for good weather for a while to balance it out, and now the weather's just the weather, and I can feel when it's coming, but usually I don't do anything about it because I figure I'm one small part of the planet. Weather is a huge planetary thing. And I have questions about whether it's a good idea or even ethical to do like weather magic because you move one mass of air in order to make your area either have less drought or stop the rains because you're getting too much water, whatever it might be, or get cooler or warmer, and then that is going to have a ripple effect and affect the rest of the planetary weather system and maybe have some serious consequences unintended somewhere else in the world because the air is like it's the Earth's breath. It's alive and moving and circulating and all this other stuff, and so all connected. It's not like isolated. So that's just me. Other people do weather magic, and if they feel confident in it, I guess they can do it and see what happens. Rolling Thunder used to be able to call thunder whenever he wanted, whether it was clear sky or not. So yeah, being an empath, I don't think necessarily makes you good at weather magic, but it does have good side effects as far as being tuned into what's going on around you. Brianna says, hi, Robert. Carla says, I was digging feathers out of a dog poop in a dream, and immediately upon waking, I thought, trash to treasure. Yeah, Starhawk has a thing about recycling, not recycling, reclaiming, um, turning your bad stuff into good dirt, as it were, healthy dirt. So you turn manure into something beautiful. And I used to have a lot of dreams of finding hidden gardens in my closet. It was like when I was going through that part of my working, which was really cool. Robert says, Rowan, even spirits flee from me. I don't know why. I do mean every kind of spirits. Siofra, do you use your wands to, let's say, modify the weather or something around you? Only if we're about ready to do something ritualistic, and only as a request. We have done that numbers of times, like when we were doing like Beltane, getting ready to go dance around the maypole, and it's been drizzling and stuff like that, and I impeach the spirits of the area, and Ian does too. He has a good record with that. To ask them to just clear a spot for us, and we've had it happen enough that I think it's a real thing. But it's just like a request. I mean, if it's not going to work, it's not going to work, and we're going to go do it anyway. But the one time it was like they were holding it off, waiting for us to get our stuff done. And soon, the second we were finished, it started raining. It was like that was one of the May Day celebrations. And then when we did it in the summer, we had one where the sun just came out just where we were. All the clouds just sort of moved aside and had a circle of sunshine for, I think that was Lunasa, August ritual. Either that or summer solstice, I'm not sure. But one of those anyway that we did down on the beach. So, it can work. And when I was in Texas, I asked the powers that be to help me focus for the stuff I was doing down there. And because I was worried because they were talking about all the chiggers that they had. And I was like, I was in Texas, and it's like, yeah, I don't need to get bit by chiggers. So what they did was they had it rain, so it kept the chiggers down. So you never know for sure what the consequences. Teresa says composting. Yes. Carla says good fertilizer. Yes. Brianna says, I think I've done it once and scared myself because it was torrential downpour with wind. I moved my hand and my neighbor's door slammed open. She laughed. I cried and never did it again. Robert says, wow, Brianna, same thing happened to me. Weather is powerful. Everything out there is powerful and bigger. But yeah, you have to sort of decide, and that's why I always recommend thinking things through. If you're going to do something, just, sit and consider, what does this mean? What might this mean for the overall picture of things? What don't we know and don't we understand about how this could affect something? Unintended consequences. Brianna says, I think the only time I do weather magic again would be to stop or dissipate a natural disaster. But yeah, I learned my lesson. Robert says, among the elements of the earth, which one is the more powerful?
None of them. I thought you were going to answer that.
Well, I mean, they're all equally powerful in their own way.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're using it for. Earth is powerful if you want to weigh something down. Wind is powerful if you want to blow something away. Water is powerful if you want to wear something down or dissolve it. I mean, it all
Or
depends
move
on what
it.
you're trying to do. Look how powerful a tornado is. Look how powerful an earthquake is. I mean, forest fires, one isn't more powerful. They have equal and differing powers, and they should all be used in balance with each other. Ideally, you should be in balance with all of them equally.
So Teresa says, can you explain the differences between the so-called 7 subdivisions of the astral plane and where would gods versus one's spirit guides reside? I've never really heard the term. I don't use subdivisions of the astral plane in my work. I just go from one astral plane to another. And there's lots more than 7 as far as actual astral activities go.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with those particular divisions. I've seen multiple different versions of divisions and subdivisions and things, and basically, they're all artificial. Let me put it that way. They're all artificial just the way states are artificial on the continent, of the U.S. State lines are just drawn in there. They're not really there, they're artificial. And if you ask me, the subdivisions are the same thing. They're not really, somebody artificially decided those, and so you'd have to go to whoever came up with it and what their descriptions of those are, because you've got a denser to a finer and more etheric astral, and you can go from one to the other, from finer to heavier, but there aren't really any subdivisions. There's a limit to how far you can go up into the lighter. You'll be limited um, by your spiritual advancement and capability as to how far up you can go, and subdivisions and things like that are actually artificial. So you'd have to look them up with this whatever system developed them.
Yeah. And there's, again, intellectualisms that people create to try and describe something that they may not actually have any firsthand knowledge of based on whatever idea it is that pops into their head that they think is cool and they want to share it. Whether it's valid or not is a whole different issue.
Well, there's supposedly also 7 areas of lower chakras, or chakras in the Kundalini stuff too, down below. Down below are regular 7 that are supposedly considered the 7 lower underworlds. But it's just a vague, not very well known of theory and idea. I don't know.
Carla says, I used to play with wind when I was little. Core memory unlocked. Awesome. Robert says, I wonder if time magic exists. Well, sure. The magic of time magic is being able to change the effect of the past on your present so that you can reshape your future. That would be my idea of time magic. Brianna says, my neighbor was a witch too and said she used to do other magic as a kid. Robert says, Brianna, I never was around kin people like me, witch or wizard. Yeah, neither was I when I was a kid. Rowan says, in combination, the elements are astoundingly powerful. Well, yeah, and then we've got the fifth element, of course, the spirit. Robert says, yeah, I heard about the seven paradises reality, and after the seventh, you towards the universe outside here.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways to look at things. There's also a whole nother world of viewing the universe is the ethers that Crowley worked with. And that put the whole universe inside these ethers and described the universe that way. It, all these things are human descriptions of things, and that should be kept in mind because they're all relative
Right, to what
to,
we
to
know,
and
understand,
to who, yeah,
comprehend, and
and to
what our
who
prejudices
draws
are.
the lines and things. Yeah.
Right, our personal prejudices, our cultural background and upbringing, and limitations of our mind and what we can actually see and do, comparatively speaking. So, yep. Brianna says, yeah, I don't do anything like that anymore. I was a little too big for my britches last year. I do mostly shadow work and boundary work these days. I have my hands full with Kundalini integration. Yes, you have plenty of stuff to take care of. Lisa says, thanks. You're welcome. Brianna says, the Kundalini energy demands a lot. I can't afford to be dumb. It does seem to have its own timetable. And we don't have as much to draw upon in Western culture to understand it, because in other cultures it's like a common occurrence, and there's like plenty of anecdotal stories, and you probably grow up with knowing what it was and have an idea of what might happen if it did come up and all this other stuff. Sort of like reincarnation. Someone asked me the other day if I believed in reincarnation or if I thought I was going to come back or something along those lines. And I'm like, I don't actually believe in reincarnation. I remember my past lives. So belief isn't required for me, because for me it's just a reality of existence. And in a lot of cultures, that's what it is. It's just accepted. And some people have got memories of their past lives and some people don't. And it's not a matter of worthiness or whatever, not a thick dividing thing, but yeah, if it was more accepted in our culture, we'd probably have more instances of it, I would assume. Because people would be born knowing it was okay to tell people that have memory from somewhere else. And no one would look at them sideways like, do you need to go to a psychiatrist?
Well, of course, that conflicts with the majority of Christianity, and there's a big problem with making that acceptable
Except
in
they
our
have
society.
reincarnation in the Bible. Because, certain prophets were reincarnations of other prophets. I mean, they have it in there, but anyway, enough of that, I guess. Brianna says, yeah, I took so many naps last weekend and had to clean up like the diet. Finding balance takes a while. Robert says, Brianna, witch or britches? Nice word change. Not sure what that means. Our brains work. Robert says, Siofra, Ian, did you know people who didn't eat nor drink water nor sleep for a little? Okay. I heard of someone who said he was a breatharian who lived in Santa Cruz and then was caught at a McDonald's eating a hamburger. I know that historically there are maybe a few people in different cultures that have been able to sustain themselves just on the energy of the air, but very few. We're talking one in like a couple of quadrillion over time. I mean, really, it's not something most of us can even aspire to. Um, and water, if you just drink water, it'll kill you.
Supposedly I've been seeing a YouTube thing go by on something about a breatharian coming forth after 66 years without eating or something,
Right,
but
I don't believe
I
it.
didn't look at the video, so I just let it pass by.
I mean, people can make any kind of claim they want, but I thought the guy in Santa Cruz was hysterical because he had a whole bunch of people that were following him and like, oh wait, how enlightened you are! We don't have to kill anything except bacteria that we're breathing into our bodies and zapping with our skin and our lungs. But yeah, so when somebody caught him at a McDonald's eating a hamburger, that was it. The gig was up. It's one of those things. Is like the question becomes Are you trying to deny the fact that you're a physical person, that you exist on a physical plane? Do you think that in order to be spiritual, you have to rise above your physical body and manifest a source of energy that has nothing to do with like mundane, as it were, stuff like food and whatnot, and that somehow if you can achieve that, you've achieved some form of enlightenment and that you're better than other people. And I don't think that that's the case. I don't think that that's the goal. I think the goal is to be a good person, to be a human being, to have compassion and empathy, and to have balance in yourself and be part of the planet and not try to separate yourself from it. I don't think that rising up and leaving here, it should be the goal. It might happen in a natural state,
However,
you could achieve that, but if that's the goal, then everything that exists in your life is something you're trying to deny or fight or resist. And that doesn't seem to work. We're saying? Okay. Anyway, Teresa says, I was reviewing what Moira said to me, that part about forming an energetic link that could remove potential outcomes. I was wondering about doing magic and how that might remove potential outcomes. Well, doing magic helps to define your outcomes. You can only have some outcomes. No matter what you're doing, there are other outcomes you're not going to have. Can't have them all. Carla says, I have a couple hand dipped candles, black. I'm thinking of incorporating them in with the rock ritual. I might do that this week with the waning moon. I'll bring my bast ball. Sounds good. Teresa says, how can one best navigate this? I think what she was referring to was not trying to become a god or a goddess, because that would be outside of human evolution, spiritually speaking. And if you left the human evolutionary chain, it would stop your progress completely as a human spirit. And that can happen in a number of ways. That would be one way. Another way would be to spend too much time in one sphere or another to the point where your energy becomes aligned with that sphere so much that when you do pass, you're more them than you are you. And then you end up having to spend time in their sphere, and you can forget that you're a human being and stay there for the rest of time, and also be outside of the evolutionary chain of spiritual evolution for people. So that's what I think what she was talking about. So that would be what you do, stay balanced. Virgo Flower says the Jewish faith endorses reincarnation. Therefore, Christian monotheism and the church in a way deny this. There is therefore an absurd contradiction due to monotheism. Carla says, bless you, Ian. I heard you sneeze.
oh, thanks. I sneeze a lot.
Rowan says, folks talk about always having to be positive and in a good mood. I'm rarely in a good mood. I do my best to be compassionate. No kidding. I mean, seriously, toxic positivity is a real thing, and it is so damaging. And again, it's that whole idea that you're failing somehow because you aren't always in the right state of mind. And, we're like the tides and the night and the day and the seasons. They're always changing. There's always something going on, moving from one state to another. So you can be in a good mood one day and a bad mood another day, or feel tired another day, or feel energetic another day. It's like we don't have to, like, I don't know, focus on those things and say, if you feel like this, there's something wrong with you. Your feelings are what they are. They're not rational. And if you try to control them too much, they cause problems. That's that whole volcano thing. Try to repress your feelings to the point where you explode at some point all over everything and everybody. Robert says, bless you, Ian. I heard you sneeze. Same for me at the same time. He also sneezed. Robert says, yes, toxic positivity is everywhere on online websites, YouTube, etc. Click money, etc. Carla says, I hear you, Rowan. I'm going to think someone's weird if they're always happy anyhow. Yeah, no kidding. That's scary. I met someone who was like that, who wanted to be a housemate. He pretended to be anyway. He never changed his facial expression the entire time I was with him for 6 hours. There was something seriously wrong with that man. I did not want him to move into our house. Teresa says, so intense devotion to a deity and aligning oneself with their energy could potentially take me off my human evolutionary path. No, I don't think that's what we meant.
No, it's, well, if you're talking a regular deity, depends on what your definition of deity is. One of the planetary spheres, it could if you identify yourself with that too much. The idea is that you identify with something so much that you're basically dropping all your human aspects for this other aspect. You're letting yourself go. It's not something that's usually accomplished very easily, and you're usually aware of it, and your conscious works on you and tries to get you out of it. And it's only people who go on ignoring their conscience and pushing towards that end up with that kind of a fate. So, in general, you don't have to worry about it, and especially if you're talking about a deity in the sense of a more general deity that's not associated with a particular sphere or something like that. I mean, the Mercury beings have been worshipped uh, for years, which I wouldn't recommend as being ideal not to worship them, but they've been worshipped as gods and things over thousands of years and that.
The 72 heads, that.
Yeah. And so, it's not something that there's an easy explanation for, except that generally people will know if they're getting into that kind of trouble, and usually it's more because people who have excessive, like like sexual desires can become a thing with the Venus sphere, for example. If you can't, if you try to do like visits with the Venus sphere being and you can't control your sexuality, you can get in trouble. Barden has mentioned that one of his students got in trouble by making a kind of a pact with an undine who then took over the body of a woman who had just died right at the moment of dying, and she hadn't had any physical defects that precluded her from coming back to life, and took over the body and then became a boyfriend for that guy who was then going to be, after death, would have to work for that undine for however long till he uses up his karmic debt, and then he can go free if he remembers enough and can get out of it at that point. So it's a serious situation, but it's not easily like stumbled into either. So generally people don't have to worry about it for much unless they try to accomplish that.
I think one of the things that you can pay attention to is if you are being told by the deity to do something that is against your will and against your conscience. And if you are, feel that you have to do it because they said you have to do it, then it's a toxic relationship and it's probably going to lead you down the wrong path. Because free will is our main thing, being able to decide for ourselves, and having a conscience and whatnot is a part of that. So, anything that tries to subvert your will, just like a regular cult in our existence can do, is a sign of a toxic relationship and a bad situation, and they don't have your best interests in mind, and you're being groomed to give over your life force, energy, attention, devotion, or whatever for a purpose that doesn't serve you as a growing as a spirit being, human.
Basically, just don't focus on any one thing and keep a balance. While Barden advocates union with God, and it is your own particular interpretation of what God is, but it's whatever it is, it's considered in its universal aspects. It's with the deity of that sort, it's never like you have a partial deity. If you have a deity of Venus or of Saturn or something like that, they're part of the whole, and the idea is not to put yourself in a limiting box.
So Robert says, I agree, Carla. Rowan says, true, Carla. That's about weird if they're always happy. Virgo Flower says, when birds gather, they become one. How flowers tend to grow. Spirits, free will, nature, decisions. Yep, absolutely. Carla says, "Oh my God, Siofra." Carla says, "Robert and Rowan hearts." Robert says, "Siofra, what do you recommend for essential oils to have a reboot of my body's energy? Depends on what your body needs. I mean, you have to. The essential oils are such a huge potential there. There are companies that online that can tell you what qualities of that particular essential oil are and how they should affect you and how you can know which one is best for you. So I would try to do some research on those. You could research the Batch flower remedies too, because they also have a pretty good list. And I say Batch on purpose because he was not German, he was British, and his name is pronounced Batch. Everybody always thinks I'm pronouncing it wrong. But
Just because of Johann Sebastian Bach.
yes, just because it's spelled like the German Bach doesn't mean it's pronounced that way. I saw a pretty good documentary on him and his history and so forth, which is when I learned I had been saying it wrong all along. Now you know, so you can say it the right way and confuse everyone else as well. But yeah, I would do some research into some of those different things and figure out what it is you're needing, what's going on in your system. If you have a practitioner who uses that and can see you in person, an acupuncturist or some kind of a Ayurvedic or naturopath or homeopathist or something like that, they would probably be better question for them, who might be able to see you in person and read your energy and know what's going on. So Virgo Flower says, at Robert, excuse me, have you tried raw eggs? Robert says, yes, I eat about 6 to 9 raw eggs a day in smoothies. They had me doing that when I was a kid because I didn't weigh enough. They had me have 3 eggnogs a day with raw eggs in them. And I lost weight, so then they stopped making me have 3 eggnogs a day because they filled me up so much I stopped eating anything else. Brianna says, what about Kundalini spiritual evolution? That ultimately sounds like losing one's humanity. No, that's actually becoming one with your greater humanity, I think. You're getting rid of the barriers between you and your own spirit, Kundalini, I think. He says, I feel scared of being less and less human over time, and maybe that eventually happens. The energy went through my crown in 2023, and so far I'm okay, but I try not to meditate too much. Robert says, actually, cooked foods creates mucus for me too much. Yeah, everyone's different. You got to know your own system and follow your instincts when it comes to that. Brianna says, also, since I'm surrounded by so many non-human beings, especially Fae, is there a chance that I'm a Fae creature or an alien or an angel? Probably not. I mean, you could potentially, like me, have some Fae blood in you, but that doesn't make you a Fae. I'm pretty sure you're human. Thomas says, she is of the woods, has a good channel on herb uses. He recommends to not use essential oils, but instead infuse fresh plant matter. The essential oils can be very strong. Well, you definitely have to know what you're doing. You don't want to put them directly on your skin because they can burn you. Brianna says, eggnog tastes great with bourbon. Well, I'm glad. I don't do alcohol myself, but sounds like it would be lovely for you. Tom Willett says, hi, new here. Hi, Tom, welcome. Sylph says, where to look for potential gifts and potential skills to unlock in the birth chart. I have no idea. Since I don't do astrology, I don't know anything about birth chart stuff. Robert says, thank you, Thomas. Rowan says, Robert, yes, sounds like you need muscle testing with a naturopathic practitioner. I definitely think someone in person would be better. Rowan says, Carla says, just be careful if you take any kind of meds, Robert. There can be contraindications with EOs and meds. There's always that, and then there's mushrooms. I mean, we do turkey tail, Reiki mushrooms, reishi, not Reiki, reishi.
Reiki mushrooms.
Yeah. You know me, and all the other stuff that's in them. We have a good immune system booster that has all kinds of different mushrooms in it. So certainly funguses can very healing. So there's a lot of different modalities. Robert says, hi, Tom. Just a Girl says, "Hi everyone, I'm super late, but I hope you have a good week." Hi, Just a Girl. You got half an hour left, so you still have time to ask any question you want. Bree says, "Phew, yeah, I like being human." Well, yeah. Robert says, "Rowan, since my diet is 50% fruits and 50% eggs, sometimes pork, my muscles are way, way, way better and dynamite." Teresa says, "Sylphie, look for quintiles, and where your north node is." Brown says, "Robert, they use strength to determine which herb is best for you." Carla says, "Do you guys get the capsules, Siofra?" Yeah, yeah, and we also eat mushrooms, but we don't get. I mean, we can get lion's mane fresh here from time to time. Going to certain grocery stores, they have it, so we can cook that, which we quite like. We haven't had any in a while.
Which of course is a brain booster if
Yeah,
you're
it's
not
good for your
aware of that.
brain memory and all this other stuff. Flexible Philosophy says at Brianna, in the chance that you are interested in information about Kundalini, Glenn Morris in Path Notes of an American Ninja Master shared his experiences about it. Good information there. Heard of him? No? Okay. Brianna says, "Yeah, I'm not much of a drinker. I'm scared to drink. My body just doesn't like it. Since the Kundalini and all the spirits, I like to have all my faculties. Same reason. I like to be in control of what's going on with my body because I need to be able to. I don't like anything that alters my perceptions of reality in a way that I am stuck with whatever it is it's doing because it's a chemical change, be it drugs or alcohol or whatever. Um, because if I need to be able to shift out of it into more, normal mode or unenhanced mode or whatever, then I can't. And I don't like roller coasters for the same reason. I do not want to take a ride that I have no control over. So I think that's definitely it for me, but everybody is different. Carla says, "I could do the capsules, but not the coffee, I don't think. I've never tried the coffee. I find it kind of expensive. I've looked into it and it's like, woo. You have to be a wealthy individual to be able to afford that." And Just a Girl said, Robert says, "Thanks, Rowan." Just a Girl says, "I just started a guided meditation for a hemispheric sync between the two lobes of the brain. I'm super excited. Have you tried it?" Well, that is, yes. I used to do that for a lot. The Monroe Institute, they're the ones who came up with that. And it helps to sync the two sides of your brain that you're working together. Brianna says, "The disassociation makes me feel drunk anyway, and I don't like that feeling." Rowan says, "Robert, they have you hold the herb to your heart area and test your physical strength to see if it's a fit for you." Tom Willett says, "What's your 2 cents on how to make sure that I can come through the magical work initiated? The work itself, if followed, doesn't guarantee enlightenment."
You're looking at me.
I am looking at you.
Well, that's a um, well, I guess I can only tell you my take on that, and because initiated could be a lot of potential things. But I would say basically the most important thing is to make sure that you are open and available to change because uh, an initiation is really a change that gets you started on a path to somewhere else. So if you follow the work, you need to make sure that you're doing it and in reality, like for example, myself, I tend to get so involved in doing things that might support the work rather than doing the work and then realize, I spend too much time trying to help it instead of doing it.
Mm.
So there's all kinds of things. So the best way, in my opinion, is uh, to master yourself and make sure that you're open to change and realize that initiations come and it makes you change. You may look at your past and everything you've done previously may look disappointing to you and make you potentially depressed about yourself. The problem is once you see more clearly, then you see that stuff you did in the past was bad, which you didn't realize was bad at the time. So you need to be open for all that kind of stuff. And then it said at last that at the bottom of it, you need to reach the final heights. Sometimes grace is necessary. So always be open for grace from the spirit, the spiritual world, um, and try to be open to that. That's probably about the best thing I can suggest. There's really not an easy answer to that question.
Donna says, I'm more of a caffeine girl. Robert says, I noticed that eggs are better than meat, but it's just me. Well, eggs are a perfect protein, very easily assimilated. Carla says, there's this stuff called Rock and Wellness. It's a super food powder that I use to make smoothies out of, but it got way too pricey. Carla says, but I had to switch it to matcha because coffee seems too aggressive with Kundalini energy.
Well, it definitely is.
Doesn't seem to bother mine at all. But
it does mine, but I drink it anyway. I like coffee a lot, and I drink it anyway, even though I shouldn't, because it aggravates my kundalini for sure, and irritates me and makes me like more nervous, and I have problems with anxiety anyway, and it increases that. So there's a lot of reasons I shouldn't be doing coffee, but I like it and I want to do it, and it's kind of a ritual that we do. So, and it doesn't really hurt me that much. I just have to put up with an hour or two of like annoying anxiousness afterwards.
Everyone's body is different. There's just no getting around it. Robert says, Brianna, be careful with coffee. It dehydrates and you risk losing electrolytes.
And it does too.
And that's a good switch, Brianna. And, the only thing I do is coffee.
Yeah, you kind of, it's one of those things, you kind of got to choose your fights, you know?
Yeah, well,
I just choose to keep doing coffee because it doesn't harm me big time. It's just just a little bit of stuff, and definitely aggravating to the kundalini though. Yeah.
I have like 2 cups a day tops. I like my morning coffee in particular. Afternoon coffee, sometimes I drink it all, sometimes I don't. Just depends. Carla says, I eat a lot of eggs, Robert. Never raw, but many different ways. The incredible edible egg, old commercial. Just a Girl says, did the hemisync help you with your powers and your craft? I think I finally lifted a bit of the veil and was able to see a Fae more clearly. Well, I think that particular it's a good thing to do. Anything that can help you to become more aware of all the different things that are happening in your brain and to gain a certain level of conscious control and ability is going to help you with your, say, powers and clarity.
I'd say the more important thing is to just keep on the path of attempting, and you'll end up with what works best for you over time, though it may take time for that to settle out, and find out.
Robert says, when I drank coffee 3 years ago, I didn't have any control to my root chakra. I stopped drinking caffeine since then. And me too, Carla. Eggs are great. Yeah, I have any number of people I know where caffeine is bad for them. Like I said, everyone is different. That's the thing. We always need to remember that everyone's body chemistry is different. I mean, right now I have one of my sisters is having some serious health issues that she didn't even know were on the horizon. She's 10 years younger than me, and I'm thinking, boy, I really I really won out in the DNA roulette wheel there in my family history. So, wow, I'm very happy. The genes that I ended up with are more compatible for more things, and health is good, and stuff like that. So, Brianna says, Rowan says, I think when you're initiated, the universe has a way of showing you through experience. I was just thinking the other day how long I've had my staff. 45 years. I just sort of blew my mind the other day, and I'm looking at my staff. I'm like, wait a minute, I got this, and then I calculated. I'm like, 45 years that I've had this staff with me, It's seen me go through all these different phases and stages. It's kind of cool. Everyone says I switched from strong coffee to tea, Irish breakfast and Chinese restaurant tea, strong black teas.
Thomas
Yeah.
says I drink a lot of tea right now. I'm having a
Oh.
2020 Jing Yang Fu Brick.
Okay.
I do too, actually. My thing right at the moment is mint tea because it does the opposite of the coffee. It calms me and makes it a little easier and helps my anxiety a little bit. Just on a small level, but it helps some. And if I drink it during the day, it keeps me overall better balanced
And I
more
can't
even.
drink black tea. The tannins really upset my stomach. So again, everyone's different.
Yeah.
So
I used to like English breakfast a lot, but then the what that stuff is in it started bothering me. Am I thinking of English breakfast?
the green tea.
No, never mind.
Sorry, I don't. I'm not twigging on it. It might be the black tea or.
What's some black tea? Never mind. Just go on.
Okay. Robert says I don't drink water at all. Been 3 months now. I eat fruits and smoothies, so I don't need water. Carla says sometimes coffee is like the nectar of the gods. Robert says sometimes. Carla says, but yay, caffeine doesn't seem to affect me either. I can drink coffee and go to sleep. Robert says, I knew a person that drank 43 cups of coffee a day. He was fine, so.
Well, I used to drink drink all day, especially we had a business for a while, and during that I just drink coffee all day long, just nonstop. I always have coffee, I don't know, 3 or 4 pots a day or something.
Yeah, it was way too much. But yeah. Carla says, I can tell if I don't have it because of a headache. That's about it.
Yeah,
Robert says, I heard of pink tea.
That's the other thing. It's pretty easy to quit, really. You just have to put up with the headache, and that's the major hassle with quitting coffee, so it's not a big deal to quit. Once the headache goes away, and it only sticks for a couple of days.
I've never heard of pink tea. Rowan says, Carla, I used to be the same. Coffee bothers my tummy now. Matcha tea, strong green tea. I like the peppermint tea. I drink that too.
No, it's Earl Grey I was thinking of, not English breakfast, and it's got a substance they put in there that I can't think of the name of.
The bergamot?
The bergamot, yes.
Yeah, well, we can take the bergamot, the citrus bergamot as a supplement and not have a problem with it, but.
It was bothering me in the English, or in the Earl Grey tea, yeah.
Earl Grey. It used to be my favorite. I loved it.
Well, I liked the flavor, yeah.
Yeah, I liked the flavor a lot, but I couldn't drink that.
Yeah.
Thomas says, bergamot oil is definitely strong, Ian. My friend doesn't prefer it because of that. It may actually be essential oil as flavoring.
Yeah, I like the taste, but it just bothers me too much.
We're taking citrus bergamot as a supplement to help with triglycerides and cholesterol, and it's working, according to my blood test. So that's kind of definitive. Brianna says, I love drinking water, but I add electrolyte packets to it. I like making rosemary and citrus water. I got some limes the other day, and I realized I forgot to make it. And, just get a glass pitcher, fill it with the water you like, add some rosemary to it, which is a very refreshing thing, and then add either orange, lemon, or lime to it as well, which gives you a lot of electrolytes. And it's just very hydrating and tastes great. Teresa says rooibos tea is really nice as a substitute for black tea. Robert says frankincense is expensive these days. Any alternatives?
That's a good question. Frankincense is rather spiritual, and I think frankincense is like crown chakra, and myrrh is more like heart chakra. So I don't know. I don't know any off the top of my head myself. I'll see what you suggest in a moment. But I'd recommend anything that's something that's light and uplifting and spiritual seeming that makes you think of those kind of things. Probably be a good substitute. It's also cleansing too. It's pure and cleansing.
What's that wood that we got?
Juniper?
Was that juniper wood?
For the mercury incense it was.
That one was nice.
Little juniper incense, yeah. Which is an airy wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's more earthy.
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah. I would recommend trying to find something that you like that seems to have a similar feel to it. Look for that feel, that cleansing, purifying, but also not harsh purifying, like spiritual purifying, spiritual and uplifting at the same time. Some type of scent that matches that.
Or
I
buy it in bulk.
Yeah, I have some frankincense oil that I really like that we've had for a long time that I've
Right.
been
We also
using.
have the frankincense tears or
Yeah,
whatever they call them.
but we have some actual frankincense essential oil. But I use
Yeah.
that often on a little dot on my forehead or a crown chakra. Has a nice odor and it's very uplifting. So
Okay. So Carla says I'm waiting for it to stop bothering me, Rowan, but so far so good. Oh, wood, Robert. Teresa says bergamot is not the same as bergamot essential oil. The herb bergamot is also called bee balm. Actually, bergamot is a citrus plant that grows in Italy, and there's only one place that it grows. It's an orange, and that's what we're
well,
taking.
that's the citrus bergamot. Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're taking is citrus bergamot.
Yes, it's not. Yeah, not necessarily the same bergamot. I don't think.
Right, but I
yeah.
think the bergamot that was in Earl Grey is the citrus bergamot, but I don't know. Could be different. Thomas says, I have a rose scented bergamot plant in the yard. Dreamy. So it must be a different kind of bergamot then. Rowan says, oh, really? My cholesterol is high too. I would rather deal with it naturally. Yeah, the citrus bergamot has worked wonders. It really has. So Just a Girl says, oh, by the way, I've had this question for a long time. I'm back here.
But you're right. It's a fragrant citrus oil extracted from the rind of the bergamot orange, which primarily grows in Calabria, Italy. So it is
Yeah.
the citrus bergamot.
Okay. So Just a Girl says, I've had this question for a long time, but I think I'm allergic to some kinds of lavender oil essence. I think the artificial ones, but everyone says to use lavender incense for the Fae. Do you know any alternatives? Get a plant and use the flowers. They'll like them just as much, if not better. You don't need to have an incense for the Fae. Put some fresh lavender in a pot or grow a lavender plant in your yard, and then go by and just go like that to the flowers and let it smell. If you're allergic to it, be careful because you can be allergic to anything.
Yeah, and I hate any types of artificial oils and essences. If they're the real deal, either that doesn't mean it can't be in a carrier oil. That's fine, but stay away. I stay away absolutely from artificial
Anything
oils
artificial
and
makes me
scents.
go
Yeah,
crazy. Sneezing like
I
a.
mean, you might wear it as just as a fragrance, if you
Well,
want.
if you're not allergic to the
But
actual
yeah,
plant, you can just crush the flowers in your hand and then.
yeah, I'd certainly recommend the natural substance for any type of magical or mystical uses. Absolutely.
So Ickle says that sounds very solar energetically. The rosemary citrus water. Does that seem right? Maybe.
Probably.
I mean, rosemary is just, yeah. Rosemary is good for all kinds of things.
Yeah,
Good for your immune system, for your memory, all
yeah.
sorts of stuff.
I'd have to suss it out, but
Yeah.
sounds like a.
Brianna says, I was braiding my hair while listening to you guys. I have waist-length curly hair, and I've been braiding since 11:45 a.m. You have long braids. Robert says, lavender is not bad, Just a Girl. Thanks for suggesting it. Brianna says, I feel like shaving my head sometimes, but I made it through. I love math says, hello, Siofra and Ian. Hope you're doing great. Is it possible to make contact with loved ones who have passed? Yes. And you can do that any time of year, but this time of year is particularly easy or easier because the veil between the worlds is somewhat thinner. You can make an altar to them with a picture and so forth. You can write letters to them and then read the letter aloud and then burn the letter to send the message to the other side. Would be what I would recommend. Just a Girl says, you welcome, Robert. I Love Math says, passed away. How? Yeah, someone has passed away. So, and you can light a candle to think about them and call their name. So, yeah. Thomas says there is a type of blue lavender that is strongly aromatic and the smell can last for 2 years. I've seen it on Richter's Herb website. Cool. Robert says, yeah, Siofra, what's the best method to talk to a loved one deceased? That's how I would do it. Meditate, think about them, picture them, have a picture of them so you can picture them, um, talk to them, light a candle for them, write a letter to them, read it. They don't have a mouth, so it's different. And if they're around, they'll hear you. Not sure what else to say about that.
Yeah, some people use magic mirrors and things to assist with talking to dead
Yeah,
loved ones, that kind of thing.
yeah, that could be another way. Teresa says the citrus bergamot is what the essential oil is made from, but I thought the herb was in the tea, but I could be wrong.
Well, that's what the internet says. It's the bergamot oil. It says some brands use cheaper artificial bergamot flavoring, which is more consistent but lacks the complexity of the natural oil. So that natural oil is the original.
Do they say what the formula is for Earl Grey tea?
It says used in high quality Earl Grey teas. I
Oh,
don't know what
okay.
you're asking.
That's what I was asking.
It
I
says
wasn't sure.
Earl Grey is flavored with bergamot
That was
oil.
what I was asking.
Well, just what I said a minute ago.
I didn't hear the Earl Grey part. Okay, so Rowan says, Brianna, holy smokes, this is a full-time job. Are you putting the bergamot in tea? How do you use it? I'm taking it as a supplement, and we actually have it combined.
Yeah, no, we were just talking about the Earl Grey tea because it has it in there naturally.
Yeah. Brianna says, yeah, and my hair can get matted easily, so if I can keep it in braids for a few days and still wash it, but just not having to detangle every day is one less thing to think about. I sometimes have to do that because if I sleep on it certain ways, sometimes it gets all tied up. Jessica Girl says, thank you. I thought I needed to use incense. I don't have a yard. So I hope a potted lavender survives and suffices, and if I am really allergic, I'll offer it to the forest. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I have problems with incenses. My little area is in my own personal little area is in my bedroom, and it's a little tiny spot, so I can't really burn anything in there. It like just
Yep.
gets overwhelming immediately.
Yep. Not good for you.
So I use a lot of the essential oil things, a little dab of it, especially for a small room.
So Rowan says, when my loved one's face appears in my mind, I know they have come to talk. Barbara says, good idea, just a girl. And okay, Rowan, thanks. Been an active conversation so far. We've only got a few minutes left. Barbara says, Siofra, if my parents are in a bad place, will I know? Well, according to what I know about, if they are in a bad place, they put themselves there. So maybe. Because really, people aren't automatically punished just because they've been bad in life, although a lot of times we would like them to be because of how we feel about justice and revenge and so forth. But in general, people judge themselves after they die, and that sort of determines where they end up. So I don't know, you might, but maybe not. I don't know. I love math says, is there a difference between the astral and the etheric plane? How can we make it to the etheric?
Well, that's the question. I'm not sure what the definition of the etheric plane is. It might be the same as the Akasha. Let me see if I can get an idea what that actually implies. I know what the astral plane means, but let's see what they give for a description of the etheric plane. I'm guessing it's probably the same thing we're talking about when we're talking about the Akasha. No, it sounds like they're talking about the astral plane pretty much.
So they're the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds like it to me exactly. A subtle or energetic layer of reality that interweaves with the physical world. That's definitely the astral plane.
Okay, so different word, same thing.
Often described as a blueprint or energetic body of the physical body. So there's your astral body. Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
So Rowan says, so Brianna, when you tell someone I can't go out, I'm doing my hair, you're serious? Brianna says, yes, Rowan. Carla says, I use essential oils and make Florida water. That way I can bypass smoke if I need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing,
And
too.
in some cases, it's pretty useful to not have to worry about the
And I,
smoke.
I made, like, herbal sprays um, from lavender, from rosemary, from sage. Those are the main ones that I've made. And that way, if I don't want to have smoke and stuff like that, I can just spray it. I actually have a video on how to do that, the way I did it with alcohol and stuff. Virgo Flower says, fantastic chat. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Just a Girl says, if you could give any advice to someone starting its journey, what would you say? Be kind to yourself and be patient with yourself, and don't worry so much about what the results are going to be. Take it one day at a time and try and stay in the moment and be as grounded as you can, because the path is unique to every individual, and it will be created out of your interests and what you pay attention to. But the main thing is to become a better version of yourself and become a quality human being. That's all any of us, I think, can really hope for. Brianna says, I need to write down my goals as being a human now that I'm more present in my life. Rowan says, I just shave my head and throw on a ball cap. Tom Willett says, thanks Ian for the advice about initiation. Just need to keep to the work as it's laid out and have faith in that my heart wisdom will see through illusions on this magical adventure.
Yeah, I have a hard time changing, so it's not easy for me, but I just keep going at it. And I think the two things are really important. One, consistency and continuing, and the second, to be always looking for what the truth is. So you don't ever, don't get caught up in illusory paths and things, because you're always seeking the truth. And honestly, if you continue that way, you will find the truth. Just keep seeking the truth, and you may end up, myself, I've been on many partial pathways, but they've got me partially here. I used to be heavily into the OTO and Crowley as part of my path, and no longer. I've gone past that, and it no longer interests me now. So just keep seeking the truth, or your truth, or what might be called your true will. Keep that as the main thing, to be open to the truth, and then you may stumble in some pathways that aren't perfect for you, but eventually you'll get there as long as you keep your mind open, keep seeking for the truth, and keep being willing to change yourself as you need to, as you see need for improvement.
Yep. Brianna says, that's good advice, Siofra. I love math says, I was wondering if drinking alcohol affects our astral bodies negatively or positively, perhaps.
Negatively?
Negatively, and I know this because I've seen people get a lot of attachments from spirits in like a bar setting. Um, they're much more vulnerable to being spiritually attached, bringing home a earthbound being or something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's, if you just have, like, I used to
A
drink.
few,
I
yeah.
used to drink a beer occasionally, like, or maybe a couple beers a week or something like that. I mean, a small amount isn't the amount that affects you. You're going to recover from fast. It's the
Over,
consistency. In that case, it's consistency that's the problem. Yeah,
right, and overindulging.
yeah, and there are specific larvae and beings associated with alcoholism and the addiction, and they will try to make you addicted. If you're just having one or two a week, that's not going to happen. But
Mm-hmm. Kat says, hello, all. Hi, Kat. We're almost done. I'm so sorry you came in late.
I will add that some of the religions actually use drinking. Like, there's an aspect of Santeria where some of the deities want, and in the case of example of one I worked with a little bit, a dark beer and a puff of cigar smoke.
Or rum.
Or well, that's a different one.
Yeah, it's a different one.
There's different things, but the idea being somehow that kind of helped to activate the third eye, but I don't think it would have without the Santeria context. So, my opinion is those things are always bad for you.
All right, so
Just the amount.
Bree says, laugh out loud, Rowan. Yeah, and then not tend not to be as high maintenance. Tom says, that's exactly what I'm thinking about all this. Rowan says, I drink wine now and again, red and sweet.
Yeah, it's
Brianna
just the
says,
abuse, really. That's
I had an experience where fey goblins were pretending to be alien surgeons and they sounded like Schmeagol, but were the size of guinea pigs. Tom says, I can't do the full on work as of now since my living situation doesn't allow for it, but I ground and shield. It's
yeah,
always good.
that's understandable. I get
And
that.
yeah, doing things in your, creating your own astral temple and doing stuff in there where no one can see what you're doing is helpful. Carla says, I've seen that with people who are into hard designer drugs. I've also seen people's papers with nations. Brianna says, they were mischievous and trolling me. Flexible Philosophy says, hi, I've got a question. Why would an entity would wrap itself to the crown chakra? I heard it chant ominously while wrapped, and since then I don't remember when I last heard the voice of the I don't know. I would say do a banishing, and we're pretty much out of time, so I can't really go into it too much detail at this point. But sounds like something got stirred up, and you can fight it off. So
Yeah,
reclaim your authority.
yeah, through the banishing and
Clearing
activate
yourself.
bring energy, bring light energy into the crown chakra and activate it.
Use some selenite, maybe.
Really negative things. If you really activate that crown chakra and bring the light, the highest light, the highest light, the highest holiest light you can into your crown chakra, it won't be able to stay there long. Bring in the light to fight it and do that. Just light it up and it'll dissolve, and if it's really there, it'll go away.
So Jessica Girl says, what are the best barriers to use for beginners, by the way? I've just been relying on my guides, but I think I'm not a spiritual toddler anymore, so I should do it, haha. So I think you mean protecting, shielding kind of stuff.
Must be, yeah.
Well, you can check out the video on the pentagram and all of its uses and how you can use that and start practicing that, and you'll get stronger, and that'll help. Flexible says loads of meditation and banishing needed, I guess, will be needed. And we have to wrap this up. Brianna says, how can you pray or send good vibes for someone's healing without crossing boundaries? They're a friend, but I don't want to overstep, but they're trying to heal from some habits and pain. I only do it if I have permission, so if you can't get permission, you can just send it to their highest self and not to them specifically, like in this life. Robert says meditation is important, 20 to 30 minutes a day. Are you guys going to have frequent lives at all? We have them every Sunday.
Yep.
At 2:00 Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
So far, unless one of us gets sick, which hasn't happened in a long
or the
time,
wind blows a power line
or
down,
yes,
which
we
has
lose
happened,
power
yeah.
in the middle of a storm. But we're here every week, so feel free to join us again, so you can get in early and ask all your questions.
Yep.
And Robert says, selenite over your head. Rowan says, when I get in trouble, I call on ancestors and angelics. He says they did give me permission to attempt to heal them. In that case, you're fine.
In that case, you're fine. Have at it.
If you have their permission, you can do it. Carla says, awesome live. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good week. Much love, Siofra and Ian. Love to you all. Thank you. Robert says, I call on my higher self. Yes, it's always good. Teresa says, thank you for all your replies. I very much appreciate these chats. Peace. Carla says, okay, send it to their higher self. Okay, I will do that. Well, you don't have to if you got permission. Jessica Girl says, thank you. Is it your pentagram video, not a protection one? Yeah, I have one specifically on dealing with all the symbolism of the pentagram, which can help you with the protection type of thing. The better you understand the symbolism of things, the stronger it will become. But yeah, he says, I do care about them, but I'm not sure how much I should. Flexible Philosophy says, thank you. We'll try. Rowan says, good night, everyone. Robert says, bye, all. Fiona says, thanks. I Love Math says, thank you so much. Have a great week. And Ian says, blessed be all, and thank you for your participation. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Lots of last-minute questions.